with the Air Force PAC, as well as Miss Velma Hernandez, who is also with the Air Force PAC. Welcome, ladies. And I see someone else has joined us, and
I feel like we're more with the DC and the PAC. I feel
I
like
know.
we're
Lenka,
so invested in you all already.
our fabulous Lenka is here with us too.
Oh, okay. And Jill, I'll let you introduce Linka.
Lenka has been phenomenal. So
Yeah, flip your phone the other way. Yeah, there you
Women don't like the horizontal camera because it makes you look heavier, but I'm just saying.
go. But
That's because we look fatter. Just saying. Okay.
So anyway, Lenka is here. She is from Michigan and she reached out. I don't know how you got to me, Lenka, but I'm so blessed, honored that you did. And she has been absolutely phenomenal. They have done I'm gonna let her tell all her stories, but over 100,000 postcards for us. Then that went into phone banking and texting. And then she got a hold of Z. And then I gave them to the Air Force PAC. And we have just been a phenomenal family working together, working very hard. Just honored for all three of you to be here with us, and welcome to the show. I don't know who's going to start, but welcome.
Well, thank you. I'll just jump in real quick. I just got out of the shower, so can you forgive me for not having the camera on? Literally, I just walked out of the shower. I actually have a TikTok account, just for a little bit of an introduction. I have a little over 300,000 followers, and I made one TikTok asking for help in raising funds to mail postcards to District 1. And I had done it before for Kamala Harris's campaign, but it was just a labor of love with me and a few volunteers, and we only expected a few hundred people to reply. And we had over 5,000 people email me, and it was overwhelming, and it was way too much for one person to do. And that's how the universe gave me Z of National Ground Game. So she helped me formalize everything. In 2 weeks, we raised $64,000. And we were able to use a printer to print out 100,400 postcards. And you all gave us the addresses for it. And the UPS, the United Post Office, already indicated they've all been delivered. And then Z and I just ever since have been trying just to create content to send people to phone banks. So, and I want to be on the call tonight to see if there's any updates I could give on any future videos that I make. So that's my background.
Vanessa, are we sharing her TikTok?
I can share it in the chat here, but we can share it right now if you want.
Yeah, it was fabulous. I think everybody needs to see this. This is what happens when an influencer like Lenka just tells the truth, and how many lives it touched across the United States, and put some of us early morning in tears. So we won't mention any names, Jill, Vanessa, but I don't know.
Derek,
Derek, let's Derek.
Do you have it so that you can put it up, or I can put it in the chat if you like? I think that means put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat, yeah, okay. Then I'll share it.
Okay.
I was trying to find it on my phone so I could move it over.
So, and I see we also have the wonderful one and only Phil Air joining us as well.
I think one of the most important things here is, when we all work together, we can really make a difference. And I think sometimes, we think, okay, well, we've got this. We know what we're doing. But the more people got involved, the more people wanted to get involved. And now we have an entire country really looking at Escambia, Okaloosa, Santa Rosa, and Walton counties, and Democrats all over the country looking at this district, but your counties, and looking at what you all are doing, thanks to people like Linka and Z. I put it in the chat for you, Derek.
Yeah, I got it. I'm pulling it up now. I can see something. Sorry.
Can I just add that working with you guys, it's been notable how much people really do work with each other. It didn't take long for me to contact Gay's campaign, and then they put me in touch with Jill. And then Jill got me connected with some of you guys, and just the teamwork was phenomenal. It was just so great. What is it today? Friday, March 21st. My account is on account ban warning, so I'm going to try to be careful. But District 1 down in Florida, Gay's campaign to take over Matt Gates's district. We were on a text thread yesterday with the campaign down there, Z from National Ground Game, who I've tagged her here, getting updates. And although we're not allowed to share numbers, I'm just going to say this. Based on the registrations of people who turned in their ballots early for early voting, if we were to have maximum effort locally and then all of us nationwide helping that district, the numbers in this deep red district would look like they did yesterday, and that's good. That's really good. So everybody's phone banking, everybody's canvassing, everybody's helping with the postcard campaign that we did. Everything is helping. It's working. But here's what they shared that made me cry. The last several days, they have had a mass influx of volunteers coming from other states to go door to door canvassing. And do you want to know who they are? Fired federal workers. I'm just going to cry. Some of them came all the way from Colorado. They don't have jobs now because of DOGE. And they're helping to turn District 1 blue. Federal workers, former federal workers. That's amazing. I'm sorry for the tears. My friend who lives in District 1 sent me a text the other day and said, look what I got. And it was our postcard. And then the next day he said, look what I got today. And it was a postcard from Gay's campaign. There's maximum effort going on down there. Now, we can't stop now. This is where we have to amp it up. Please, if you already signed up and got trained to phone bank, fire up that computer and call as many people as you can, including the day of elections, April 1st. If you can, sign up to phone bank. Go to Z's page. I've tagged her here. Just click on her page, and in her link tree, there's a button that says sign up to phone bank, and you can just join one of the upcoming Zoom calls to train you really quick how to phone bank, and then you go off on your own. What's going to turn out a win for us is getting people who are normally apathetic or don't even know there's an election going on, people who are registered Democrats and people who are registered as no party affiliation but lean blue. We've got to turn them out to vote at the same time.
Recording in progress.
There'll hopefully be enough people who are registered Republicans who don't care to turn out to vote because they're starting to get angry at everything they're seeing, or because, Donald's not on the ballot. So we need your help there. Click on Z, I've tagged her here, go to her link tree, sign up to phone bank, please. And thank you everybody for helping with the postcards again, in case you haven't received updates. That was a major, huge success.
So Vanessa, I don't know if you want to start.
Yeah, so I just want to give an update as to where we are. Last week when we were all here, early voting had not started yet. We were just looking at vote by mail ballots coming in. And so on Friday, we started to see a shift in turnout and in our favor. So Democrats, we saw that Democrats started to turn out not in one county, but in all 4 counties, in double and triple the numbers that Republicans have been coming out. That's been consistent through the weekend, even through early voting. So our gaps are very small, which has never happened in the Panhandle, and it's never happened in this congressional district. Are we still behind? Yes, not by much, but we are still behind. The Democrat and Republican difference still exists, but by a couple of hundred votes. So what we're seeing is between yesterday and today, where Republicans have seen, wow, Democrats are coming out. We need to push. We need to push harder. They still were not able to push hard enough to cut into our turnout numbers. So we are turning out at 2 and 3 times more than the Republicans are turning out. That is how you close a gap when you have such a large registration gap between Republicans and Democrats. But what does that mean for us? That means that Democrats are starting to get exhausted. Our teams are starting to get exhausted. We've been on the phones, we've been on the ground, we've been looking at all this, and frankly, there aren't enough Democrats in the district to win with just them alone. So now we are starting to look at pushing out those NPA voters. But what we're most excited about, and I was doing some research today to make sure that I'm not speaking out of turn. This is the first time that any of your counties have really seen Democrat turnout exceed Republican turnout. Traditionally, Republicans have turned out in the highest numbers, at the highest rate, even when there is a low turnout election. What we've seen this time is not just more Democrats coming out, but we have seen Republicans not want to come out, and Democrats really just motivated to come out in mass, right? So that means Republicans aren't willing to come out and vote against their party, but they're also not willing to come out and vote against the party they may be disappointed with. But Democrats, they see a chance here. And so the more we talk about what each of your counties looks like, the more we're going to empower these voters to see and feel that they finally have a chance. We've actually, with this election, moved the needle in the Panhandle in a way that, we've always said this was a once in a lifetime opportunity where you have seen not just a turnout deficiency between Democrats and Republicans in the past, even going back to 1996, Democrats have never exceeded turnout, right? This is the first time that Democrats are turning out at higher levels than Republicans. But beyond that, you are now giving your voters an opportunity and a chance to believe in your party again and to believe that they have something to come out and fight for, which means that in itself increases turnout. So, I don't know what's going to happen on April 1st. And as much as I'd love to get into what the strategy is for the next week, I know that I can tell you that Republicans are worried. They put paid canvassers on the ground today. I've been, looking over social media. Consultants are upset. They're almost shaming Republicans into coming out to vote. We're dealing with a lot of what we deal with in Miami-Dade, up in the Panhandle, calling us communists and socialists, and we have to come out. I mean, they are upset, they are angry, and they are disappointed because even Gay Vallimont has a chance to win in CD1. But if she doesn't, what you have done is laid out the groundwork for 2026, that this district and races within this district are flippable. And they're afraid of that. There's one thing Republicans hate, and that's their seats being taken away. They don't mind spending money. They don't mind lying. They don't like to do the work. And they don't like their seats taken away. And you've managed to do that, all of us. Somehow, working together, we've managed to do that. So I do today ask you, anybody you know that has a couple of hours over the next week, because we don't have a lot of time, we need to keep the pressure that we have put on our voters over the next week. That is the only way we keep up, because their raw numbers are much higher than ours. Their registration numbers are much higher than ours. So we have to work double and triple as hard to have gotten to turnout that is double and triple theirs. But if we stop now, we know Republicans come out in force at the end of early voting. And they do that so that Gay has already spent their money, and they can take it. So we need to keep it even. But it is exciting news for all of us and exciting news for the Panhandle. And I'm looking forward to what happens next for you guys.
Can I ask just a quick question? When you say that this has never happened before, I think you said going back to, did you say 1996?
As far as I was able to go today, yes. So turnout, Democratic turnout has never exceeded Republican turnout. So in this election, we're not just exceeding Republican turnout, we are doubling and tripling their numbers. So for example, we have our Democrats are turning out at 5 points higher than Republicans are, right? So even though they have more Republican registered voters, if we are turning out in higher numbers, then we are able to close the gap, right? Even today, from yesterday to today, our turnout increased a little bit. So did theirs, but not at the same rate that we did. What we don't want is for that to shift.
Okay.
But
So
I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna- I was
Go
going to
ahead.
ask, do you think it's enough disaffected Republicans to help carry this over?
In this district, there's a couple, I'd say about 2-3% that I think are willing to cross over, because that's just and I can say that now. I couldn't say that a week ago. I can say that now, looking at the ballot returns and early voting, I can see that they are dissatisfied with their party. So I can anticipate at least a 3% crossover. Yes. We can also anticipate that NPA will break for Gay, and so here's the problem, right? So yes, Democrats have done the best job that they have ever done historically in this district. But if we want Gay to win, then we need those NPAs to come out, because their turnout is quite low, right? So over the next couple of days, not only do we need to keep up the pressure on the Democrats who still have ballots and who still haven't come out to vote, but we need to push those NPAs to feel like they have a reason to come out, right? And they don't want to hear anything about partisan battles. They don't want to hear anything about ideology. They want to know what we are going to do, why one candidate is better than the other. That is all they care about.
So you don't think they care about Medicare?
That is exactly what they care about. There's
Yes.
not ideology. So without mentioning, okay, well, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. No, Gay stands for this. She is going to protect our safety net programs, period. The moment you introduce ideology into the conversations with our nonpartisan voters is the moment you lose them. At least in this type of election where they are already disengaged, right? And they're already tired of hearing about these partisan ideological battles. The one thing you want to drive home are those things: Medicare, Social Security, veterans, federal workers.
And I was going to say, I don't know if they have been keeping up with all of the, you just named a few of them, but there's so many more issues that, like you say, veteran, but issues with the farmers and,
Mm-hmm.
deregulation and also the USAID program, free lunch program, WIC, that CDC and Food and Drug Administration. All of these are in jeopardy now,
Yes.
and it could very well mess up the health and well-being of the American people because there's really no oversight over it anymore
Mm-hmm.
because of all the institutions are being torn down.
So without getting too deep into what we have been doing, one thing Republicans can't stand is the word regulation. And that goes for MPAs as well. So that is something that we have kept very clear when we are making phone calls and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other is how much of the workforce federal workers make up in this district, right? And how widely affected they are. So that is the one issue, even from, so I spend more time reviewing Republican polling and Republican talking points and the Republican consultants' comments on media and social media than I do the Democrat, right? Because that tells me what they're countering. And what they're most worried about in this district is how Trump's policies are affecting the federal workforce, right? So that is really what is going to determine, we don't know how it's going to go, right? And we know that it's an uphill battle, but that is the one issue that Republicans are most worried about because it makes up such a large part of the electorate, especially in the special election. So if that's what's motivating people to come out, there may actually be more crossover from the Republican side, right? And so that's what everybody's kind of waiting to see. Are Trump's policies really motivating folks in these special elections? And have they motivated people enough on the Republican side and even the MPA side to come over and start trusting our party again?
Jill?
So does Velma want to share anything or Phil before we start asking any questions? And Link, I think you started to say something as well, and then Jerry was talking. Did you have a question?
Yeah, it was just for clarification because I just want to make sure I'm accurate if I create more content, and I will. When you said the NPAs are low, do you mean right now during early voting, or do you mean in general for special elections their turnout is low?
Both. So in general, NPAs don't come out in this district. They don't feel like they have a voice, right? They're coming out below what we need them to come out in the special election in order to push gay over the edge. We need them to turn out in higher numbers. Now, we have to keep in mind two things. And nonpartisan voters in relatively conservative districts come out at the end of early voting. So they behave very similarly to Republicans when it comes to the voting patterns, or they come out on election day. So we have to keep that in mind. That doesn't mean that we don't work them now to make sure they come out Friday, Saturday, and Tuesday of next week, right? And also, the numbers that we have today don't include any vote by mail ballots from the weekend. So the state does not update those numbers over the weekend. We'll know where we really stand on Monday. Now, considering what we've seen, I do anticipate that there will have been more Democratic ballots than Republican ballots come in over the weekend, which will shrink that gap significantly. But we know that the Republicans are pushing hard. They are calling out to their voters and they have people out. So we need to keep the pressure kind of consistent over the next couple of days and not get complacent.
And are you getting a sense at all that there are any Republicans right now that are flipping because they're already angry, or you're not really hearing that?
I mean, based on what I'm getting back from our outreach, the ones that do, so how the Republicans that we reach out to are folks that we think will even listen to what we have to say, right? So what we get back is probably a little bit more positive than if we threw out a big net. I can't say it's positive, but they're open, and veterans are far more Republican veterans and voters in military and veteran households, even if they are Republican, are far more receptive than any other voter, any other type of voter in the district. So yes, they are receptive.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. And a large part of it has to do with, this administration pushed its way into the White House, harping on using our flag, using these concepts of freedom and democracy and America. And yet, one of the first things they did was discard our veterans in our military community, right? Veterans don't take that lightly. So that becomes their issue over partisanship. So they are one of the few voting blocs that will always literally put country over party, right? And they are deeply affected by that. So they have responded positively to that message.
So, Phil, since you're here, do you want to share, and then Velma, and then we can kind of ask some questions, some specific questions.
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm Phil Ayer. I am a Navy veteran, and I would just like to back up Vanessa's last point of analysis is that we veterans are very much affected. They're talking about now taking away some of the benefits that disabled veterans get, and we're subtracting that from retired pay. Just clawing back into a technically a concurrent pay situation. They're trying to get rid, or they are proposing to get rid of that. Project 2025 laid that out as well. But I'm just I'm also very pleased, as was said earlier today, about the cooperation. The command climate, when you walk into a ship or a military unit, senior officers and senior enlisted can just tell how well the command climate is, how people communicate, how professional they are. And it does my heart good to see people from outside give us feedback about how open we are to cooperation. And that does contrast with a lot of natural tendencies in the political world to, hey, get off my turf. This is my lawn. This is my strategy. Get out of here. No. We are sharing resources. We are not jealous of or conflicting with, the other strategies that are at play in this district. And there are other strategies that are at play in this district, but we, as most of the folks here on this call, are proceeding with a strategy that, is not going to, if you call up other groups or call up the candidate herself, you'll see that, hey, we don't see things, the electorate the same way. And it's okay for us to go on our own. Our PAC, for example, our PAC is actually prohibited from doing the coordination because we're organized under Florida law, not federal law. But even if we had been able to coordinate, and we cannot, we would still rely on our own good judgment about how to use the limited, very valuable resources of volunteer effort and the expertise that Vanessa Brito brings to this problem. So I'm very grateful for that feedback and for all of us in our teamwork. And my last point is that you see this right here? This be my steering wheel. Why? Because I happen to be in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown University, and at the top of this coming hour, I'm meeting with at least one student who I've asked him to bring his friend. Well, I will brief them, Vanessa and Derek and Velma and others, on your work in the First District. I know there's a lot of folks here, as around the country, who are primed on our federal government and the terrible direction of the Trump administration is taking. And so I expect a very receptive audience, certainly from my friend, and hopefully his political science are just engaged young minds. And yeah, I will repeat that if they want to get involved, hey, we've got phone bank links for them, and it's real easy, and give us some time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. I think there's a couple of other things, like other takeaways outside of this election, right? And outside of April 1st. And what does this all mean? And what have we learned, right? And Joe, you were responding to text messages today. And I've always been an advocate of being aggressive in terms of messaging and really pushing a voter to really think about why they haven't voted yet or why they just don't care. And so one of the things that I have seen in the responses that have come back from different groups is just how abandoned people feel and just how it's like, we've basically given up, nothing's going to change. But we also see that the harder we push and the more times we reach those people, the more engaged they tend to become and the more interested they tend to become. So if nothing else, what the Northwest Florida counties have done is proven to an entire state that it is okay to go into red areas, that you can move the needle, that you can outperform these people, and that if you work, we've been at it for months, we've been at it since December. Imagine if it wasn't a special election, we had started, prior, right? So we learned, and I guess it's more not we learned, but we proved that it is okay to do those things. It is okay to go in and have those difficult conversations. It's okay to get yelled at sometimes. And because getting yelled at that one time by that one voter gets you to 5 more who are willing to listen. And that's something that we've seen in what has traditionally been considered, the reddest district in the state. So you have now put the entire state and the entire country on notice that you're here, you're going to do the work, you're not going to let up. And Republicans, for the first time in years and decades, have actually spent money on this district and have actually put themselves on the ground to knock on doors, something that they never thought they had to do. When we met in December, we said this, is that, oh, they're going to take us for granted. They're not, they think they have this. 1 week before Election Day, they're paying people to get on the ground and move people. So it can be done. And I think that's something you all carry with you, all of us, actually. We've done this together, can carry that with us. And, these districts are not unwinnable. We just have to work 3 times as hard to get them to listen.
Velma, are you going to share anything? She went on screen, off screen. I want to give you the opportunity because I know you are a huge part of this as well.
She may be dealing with
a little one. Okay. Lenka, what was it like for you and your team? You guys sent some pictures of you and the Girl Scout troop doing postcards, but what was the energy like? You've been doing this for a while for so many, but is this different for you guys because, we're so red because the energy is flowing so much, or was this just another opportunity for you guys to do what you do so well?
Well, what was different this time around is after Trump won, just the fear people had. I think so many people are pretty apathetic. They'll post on social media and their vote, and that'll be just the extent of how they help with campaigns. And now you have people, there were even people from Canada who donated money and wanted to help with the postcards. I'm in Michigan. There was a Girl Scout troop from the state of Maine. And these are little girls, they must have just graduated from Brownies, who they wanted to print out their own postcards, put their own stamps and addresses on it. And I think that they printed out 1,000 and you provided the addresses, and I emailed them 10,000 addresses, and they took pictures. And these girls, their mothers were there. There were some fathers there. Some of them brought their little boys, and they're just all sitting there writing out these postcards from the state of Maine. And the last time I saw this kind of motivation was back when Bernie was running. But there's something different this time for sure. There's just so many more people who just never were plugged in before. I even had comments, they've never phone banked ever, but they're finally going to do it, even though they're anxious about it.
Mm-hmm. It's the system we have going, right? So everybody plays an integral part, and we are all pieces, and without one of us, it wouldn't work. So you all they have basically taken care of manning the phones while the DCs are out on the ground knocking on doors. Then we have our federal workers doing doors for other groups of people that we need. And these fired federal workers are working on their dime. The PAC did not raise money for them to come. They actually called us. They're like, hey, we're here. Where do we go? And I was like, wait. What do I do? So, and they brought another team of 6 people this weekend, and they've been incredible. So everybody is kind of filling in the gaps that you would need to fill on this caliber of a campaign. So without any one of us, I think it would fall apart. And that's why I think and we recognize that. And that's why it's been almost, natural. It's organic how we have worked together. And that's also something to be said, and an example, I think, to be set for the party itself and just organizing in general in the state of Florida.
I think when you said organic, you were spot on. I think that that's one of the things that's different this time is that I think Democratic voters feel like the party's not there for them, and nobody's going to save them. It really is up to us. And organically, people are stepping up, just like you said.
Yeah. I know we have, as I mentioned earlier, we talk about being a little bit more aggressive in how we touch voters. And I mean, we know Republicans are not just aggressive, but they're liars and especially when they talk to voters. So I think traditionally Democrats have been afraid to say the wrong thing. And yesterday, I know that we pushed a little bit harder than we had in the past with a group of voters. And I was hesitant, and I said, well, I really want to push, but let's see if we get any pushback. And, funny enough, people were very receptive, and people responded to that, and they felt seen and they felt heard, and they were like, well, I need to write to the polls. And so we have to start being okay within ourselves as Americans, right? And as Democrats with taking a risk and knowing that voters look to people like us who are on the ground, who are in leadership in any way, to take the lead, to take the risks that they may be afraid to take. For them, taking a risk is going out to vote because maybe they think their vote isn't going to count. That's their risk. For us, it's pushing a little bit harder, right?
So in the risk that you are taking, I know you said people are responding. So I guess when the risk you're taking, when they are responding, what are you talking to them about?
So, I mean, this already went out. So yesterday we were talking to Black voters in the district, and we talked about the concept of slavery and how the state wants to eradicate, and this administration wants to really erase Black history. But we did it with very strong language. And it was a risk that I think we all took and we all agreed that we were going to take. And it worked because I think people are not used to Democrats having those raw and honest conversations and identifying, hey, this is messed up, this is wrong, and we can't continue to stand for it. People are not used to that. And at this point, where we are as a district and where we are as a country, we've got nothing to lose. And I think the voters know that.
Can I ask a real quick question about that? Because I totally agree with you. I so agree with you. The way you were talking to the Black voters, but that is still different than how we would speak to non-party affiliated, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, I know in the African American community, many people are dependent on Social Security. Sometimes that's all they have, income they have coming in. I think those are some of the things that should be focused on, and especially the SNAP program, free lunch program, WIC. It run the gamut. It's not just the African American, but I'm just saying those are things that need to be addressed so that people know that it's a possibility all these things could be gone in the next year, or so severely cut that it will not benefit or get to the people that need it the most. And I'm sure they're concerned about the environment that that they live in, and how this environment is going to affect their everyday life with all the cuts to the EPA and all of these institutions that has helped so many people in the decades past. The Food and Drug Administration, where so many people depend on to make sure that our food is protected. Because in certain areas of the African American community, there are places called Cancer Alley, where so many people have cancer, and especially from the environmental places that are not conducive for good living. So, and then voting rights is another that that the African American community is very concerned about, especially those of us who are engaged in it, because Section 4 and Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act has been gutted. And then the education, the Department of Education they are gutting that to the point where it will not benefit really anybody in the state. Florida was getting $24 billion from Medicaid to help offset a lot of the costs that it would, for disabled veterans, or just a whole host of people in this country. So I think when people know that they are more inclined to vote for things that they know that's going to affect them right now directly. What's your thoughts?
I totally agree. And I know Phil's gonna laugh now because we've had this conversation about Medicaid and SNAP. So, and I probably drive those programs and how important they are and how the state and federal government work together, because it's something I help with on a daily basis outside of everything I do on the campaign side. And so one of the things that I think is important is letting people know all these programs, like you said, are at risk of being erased, right? And so and I think it's hard for some, so SNAP and Medicaid are state programs, but they are partially or almost in full funded by the federal government, right? So when we talk about free lunches for public school children, the money has been on the table for the state of Florida to take, and we continue to reject it. There are so many families that could benefit from that. And it is people like Gay's opponent, Jimmy, who have ridden opinions to the Department of Children and Families saying, Floridians don't have the need for additional SNAP benefits, even though, or for free lunch, or for summer EBT, which has been another issue, when that is not the case. So you're absolutely right. And, amongst the things that we do, and I try not to get too deep into like the specific messaging, but yes, you can, I rest assured that is one of the main talking points that we push, especially when we do our targeted messaging and when we're having individual conversations with voters, because they do need to understand that there's one party that is going to protect and fight for those programs, and there is one party that is telling everyone who is benefiting or using those programs to try to sustain some semblance of a lifestyle, right? That they are taking a handout. And so that is part of the conversation that we have with voters. It is key, because that is what affects them. Like you said, for some folks, it's property insurance. But in communities where there isn't high home ownership, we need to talk about SNAP and Medicaid and remind them which party is protecting what.
Derek?
Now, for me, I guess I'm with you 100%, and I know that we've talked about, the progress that we've made and that we're making. I just don't want it to be missed that we absolutely owe all of this progress. We think that certainly there are voters who are fed up and tired and are getting out and expressing their discontent with this administration in the form of their vote. But what I want to just convey is my sincerest thank you, because we know that we wouldn't be able to mobilize and coordinate and have a data-driven get out the vote operation and turnout for this special election if it weren't for the Air Force PAC, if it weren't for Dr. Vanessa Britton, if it weren't for Velma, if it weren't for Phil for having the insight and the forethought to even create the PAC. And certainly if it weren't for folks like Linka and Z, I said it right? Z, right? For doing all of the stuff, from reaching out from afar to get the word out to our constituents in Congressional District 1. We, are a small crew of folks, right? Although we have a lot of Democrats, those that are actually doing the work are very small in numbers, right? And so we can't do this by ourselves. And so for me, I am like eternally grateful for what you guys have done. You've shown me like, oh, wow, there is a different method to the madness, right? We just now have to work at getting that done. And I am happy to see like, oh, okay, from this point on, going forward, Florida Democrats, DNC, nobody can say, oh, well, it's little old Congressional District 1. They're always going to be ruby red. They're not going to do anything. That's not the case.
Yep.
We are actually fighting, and we are fighting strategically. I absolutely love, although, well, it's a love-hate. I love the fact that for the first time in like 30 plus years, Republicans have to canvass. I hate it because now they're waking up some of their voters to actually go and go vote. But they've never done that before, because they look at us as Democrats in this area and they're like, whatever, I'm not doing anything. They've never had to run ads. You know, they might run here like, oh yeah, I'm with Trump. So you know
Mhm.
their name, but the fact that Patronus had to spend some money to run an attack ad against Gabe Alamont, something that has not been done in this district, shows something, right? The fact
Mhm.
that Republicans sent out text messages to Democratic voters saying that the April 1st election had been canceled says something, right? So we're like, at this point, we're seeing the fear, and I love the fact that it's almost like we are, as Democrats, we smell the blood in the water, and so we're
Mhm.
attacking, right? We're coming. It's like sharks, right? We're coming up to do what we got to do, and I absolutely love that. But again, seeing the strategy, you and I have talked. You and I talk all the time, right? And it's like, okay, we need to switch. Let's go here today. And
Mhm.
so we'll go here today, and then we look tomorrow, and you see the result of going here today and what that's
Right.
done, in the next day. And you're like, shut up. Okay. And,
Mhm.
certainly I knew that you knew what you were talking about, but to see it pan out and like, okay, clearly you know what you're doing. Like, I get it, got it, good. Again, I said it the last time, and I will say it again. We can find a house for you if you want to move to,
Listen, I'll tell you
to,
one thing.
to Pensacola.
There's
We can
people
find
who
that.
are
That's not a problem.
there's Democrats who are not going to vote in this election, but engaged with us, right?
Right.
So, and that's another piece of this pie, right? Is that, and Derek, don't hate me, but once this is over, you can all go to Derek because he has all this information of people who engaged with us, who
Mhm.
said they were going to vote, but didn't, who said they weren't sure, and then ended up not voting, who said they were pissed and didn't vote. And that's how you start, right? After April 1st. That's how you start to rebuild. So I don't know. I've not been involved with your DC prior to this, but this is something that you have now to build on with an
Right.
entire community of people, because now you can look back and say, okay, this is how we did. These are the people that we touched and motivated, but these are the people who need a little bit more. So let's start working on them now, you know?
Yeah. And to the point that you were making earlier, we've never had such an aggressive, and I don't know. I hate saying aggressive because it sounds, the connotation sounds negative, but aggressive meaning like here, we're having very frank and forward conversations via text. The robocalls are
Mm-hmm.
very to the point, very not, hi, come vote for us. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very much, no, this is it.
Yeah.
You got to do this now. And I don't know what else to tell you. Like this is the last ramp. This is the last exit opportunity
Right.
for this to get off this train wreck, right? And so I'm loving that, and I'm loving being able to touch as many people as we've done. But again, we've not been able to do that if it weren't for Linka and her team getting out postcards. I don't think we've ever had in this
Mm-mm.
district 100,000 postcards sent out across the district. I'm saying that only 5 years into this, so I could be wrong, but I don't think so. At
Their
least not
group,
during my time. We've not
yeah,
seen that, right? So,
their group has made 15,000 calls,
right, right.
so so we looked at last week, Derek was on a call and looking at what your DCs have done in comparison to other districts. It's in the thousands versus the hundreds, right?
Yeah,
So, and that's why the turnout is double and triple what the Republicans have, because we've had to reach out to that many people.
yeah,
But thanks to folks stay on the phones, we've been able to focus on the ground. So, anybody that says it can't be done in a ruby red district, I mean, everybody in Miami and they're probably still laughing because oh, well, you guys are crazy, wasting your time raising money for this district. And it's like, look, moving the needle takes a lot of work and
Yeah.
it can be done, right?
Yeah.
If you do it the right way. And
Yeah.
I'm incredibly proud of everybody here.
Yeah,
Very-
we're R plus 26, right? But I know that after this election, we will not be R plus 26, you know? So I think that's where, you know, I'm excited. I have my own other personal reasons, you know, that we talked about that I'm excited to elect Gabe Alamar. But I guess, you know, I hope everybody else's takeaway is, I don't want this to sound celebratory because we are not in a celebratory stance, right? We got work to do, a lot of work. It's still anybody's race. So for me, my ask is for you to go out and vote. Uh, if you've already done that, so okay, I've done that. Now what? We've got phone banks that we need a lot of help to get other Democrats and other MPAs out to vote. There is something in this race that everybody can do, but I can't stress upon everybody the urgency. You know, I'm liking it. I'm almost in a like internal smile in terms of this race, right? But we still have work to do. I'm just proud of where we are. But again, my footnote or to that is it's you guys. It's the Air Force campaign. It's Lincoln. It's country over party. It's the voters, you know.
Mhm.
So I'm just happy to be where we
I'm enlisting Jerry to call NPAs with me.
Derek, Derek, Jill, Sharon, all of you. I got a engagement I got to speak to. I got a speaking engagement, in other words, to talk about the upcoming town hall meeting this Thursday coming, and the banquet as well, which is in June, but the upcoming hall meeting at Greater True Baptist Church is 130 North Pace Boulevard. We want everybody to come out, but that's why I'm going now to speak to some people about what's happening on Thursday. And
Okay.
I hope to see y'all Tuesday.
Okay. Sounds good.
See y'all later.
Take care. So yeah, hey Miss Cheryl, how are you?
Recording stopped.
I don't know where you went. Oh, you're up there. There you go.
Evening, everyone.
So yeah, that's it. I guess Vanessa, I don't want to hold you guys too long because I know you guys are knee deep in doing whatever. Plus, it is Sunday, and I'm sure you guys would like some sort type of downtime. What I will ask is there anything in all of this that we've said? Is there anything that you would like to leave with those who are watching, or any asks, any you know, pump up moments of inspiration that you can give to them?
I mean, look, I think we have to accept that no matter what happens on April 1st, everybody here has made history, right? And you've changed the landscape in your district, in each of your counties, because it's not just one county that is performing this way. It's every single one, right? So you've made history and it's worth putting in the effort. When you put in the effort, you know, every single vote does count. So it is worth making the calls. And like I said, having those difficult conversations. If we really, really want to give these people a run for their money, making a couple calls over the next week is going to do it. Make them spend the little money they have left so that we can hit them hard next weekend. That is all that I ask. Make sure that we can leave a dent and using this election and what is going to happen. Let this be the precursor to 2026 and what
Yeah.
Democrats have to look forward to.
Yeah, that's good. Vanessa, can I just ask really quick? Tomorrow is another Zoom training, but if people don't make it to Monday's training, they do need to wait till Friday's training, or are you adding more midweek?
No, they don't have to wait for training at all. If they've signed up on the form, I email them everything, including the dialer links immediately.
Okay.
So if they sign up on the form, or if they cannot make it, send me a list of the folks who cannot make it, or I'll send you what I'm sending to everybody. It has an instruction sheet, it has a training video, and it's got my information and the dialer links. So, so they can use that, and if they feel comfortable starting right away, great. If they want to reach out to me, great. But they definitely don't even need to attend the training. And by the way, your callers are amazing. I get emails from them every day, and they're like, hey, so I think we should do this, or hey, I think we should do that, or I have this voter, and they are absolutely, and everything that they suggest, I usually go back and incorporate, because they're just so engaged. It's freaking amazing how they have been just on top of everything.
And that be there, they just want, who can I call? And I can remember a couple of them saying, I don't do this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to psych myself up. And then they come back on and they're like, oh, it's so much easier than I thought. This was no big deal. Thank you for the training. So, but we know for absolute sure that our numbers wouldn't went up for the phone banking if it wasn't for you and Z and your team. Because as soon as we did that all call and you guys sent out your TikToks and whatever you did, all of a sudden, instead of having 5 or 7, we have 37. And we know that's all because of you guys.
Yeah.
So truly, I think Derek Price said it best, even though my internet was doing its own thing, that it really does take all of us, but we're so, we have to do it. We live here, so we don't have a choice. So we're invested. But for people all around the United States to come in and to help because they see a bigger picture, for me, that kind of lets you, you want to just be like, am I really doing this for a reason? We know there's a reason, but is it even possible? But then you guys will get on and it's like, wow, they're from Indiana, they're from Illinois, they're from California, they're from Michigan. This is crazy. We can't give up in Florida.
That's amazing. I'll text you guys after so I can give specific information if they can't make Monday's Zoom.
Yeah, and people have been,
because I'm going to create a video tomorrow morning.
Great. I think people have been afraid also to reach out to, or they were, to reach out to nonpartisan voters. And then when we explained how we targeted them and they started calling at the end of the calls, the last couple of trainings, it's like, we see that there's more people calling those lists because they feel more comfortable. And they're like, oh, I didn't expect them to be so nice, or, oh, they listen to what I have to say. So it's seeing that what your perception was of these voters, because everybody said, oh, the panhandle is just so red and it's impossible. And, it's not everybody. It just so happens that the people who vote traditionally are like that. But that is why we're reaching out to a different group of people. And it's been pleasantly surprising for us and for them to see people become more comfortable talking to Democrats and nonpartisan voters equally, which is what we need really, especially in red and purple areas, because that is really the only way. That is the only path to victory in districts like ours.
Well, we are so happy that you guys are here, working with us. Couldn't do without you, but you guys, like Derek said, I'm sure on your Sunday and maybe we should tell you to take some time because some of you don't take any time. And I know, you're calling 1 o'clock in the morning and Velma and Vanessa never sleep. So take this time, because this next week is everything we got. And we just truly thank you.
I'm not sleeping till the 2nd.
I know, that's what I said. But I need you, so just make sure pretend for a little while at least.
Thank you,
I don't know
everyone.
if you saw, Linka asked Vanessa before you go to text her the links, so she can include in the video tomorrow. I don't have her, so either you or
Yes, I
Jill.
will.
Yeah, she's on with Vanessa and them, so. All right.
Vanessa, thank you so very much. I appreciate your time. Velma, thank you. Thank you, Mateo. Thank you, Phil. Go get something to eat or do something fun, right?
Thank you. I'm going to send you
All right.
guys a spreadsheet.
All right. So everybody, that was Dr. Vanessa Brito and Vilma Hernandez and Phil Air of the Air Force PAC HR, as well as Linka with her organization on the name of it.
I don't know. Z is the one that has the national ground game that works
National
with her.
Ground Game.
Yes,
Okay.
but Lenka is just an amazing person who has, like she says, a TikTok that has 300,000 people.
Yeah. So with that, we thank all of them. For those for those who
Oh, Jesus.
I'm sorry. For those who are still looking on how to get engaged, certainly we would ask, give us a call. Call the office for Escambia County, 850-407-7997, 850-407-7997, or you can reach out at escambiadims@outlook.com. And certainly, we will try our best to steer you in the right direction on things that you can do. If you need to reach out, we can give you Ocalusas. We have opportunities. You can call any one of ours. We have opportunities in all counties that you can get involved. It's just not too late. But more specifically, just get out and vote. This is the time that we have the only opportunity that we have to make this happen. And if we can continue at this progress, we may be able to shake something up here, right? So let's see what we can do and do that. All right, I guess we will go back to if we did not do it in the beginning, our roundtable discussion. And welcome back, Cheryl. Cheryl, I'll start with you. What do you have to share with us today?
Good evening, everyone. What do I have to share? It's a bunch going on. So I just released a couple singles this week. A country song that I think I sent you guys, and you didn't get it? I will definitely send it to you. I think I tagged you in it, but
Okay.
I'll send it to you. Called Walk Away. And that is featuring Jared McConnell, and I'm super excited about that. I wrote and composed it, and just working on finishing a couple other writing projects at the moment. So that's about it.
Is it something that we can play while we're here? So
Yes. So Walk Away is a country song, kind of like it's an emotional song. Pretty empowering that when you get to the point of it's okay to walk away from people and circumstances that no longer serve you. So it's along that vibe. And again, it's by featuring Jared McConnell, and he's a local country artist. Travels around the Gulf Coast with his band, the High Aces. And again, I'm super proud of it.
Wonderful.
JARRED, if you're looking for it.
Is it on Spotify?
I believe so. I know it's on YouTube and Pandora and iTunes and all that good stuff.
Okay.
You see it?
Now, I don't know how to get to iTunes on my computer. Let's go more than that. That's sad.
Now you can find it on YouTube. That's why I've been playing it back to back for the last couple of days.
Wow. Right.
And I published a hip hop song with Spicy Priestley, who is another local artist. And yeah, just doing a little bit of writing.
Cool. Let's see. Is it on your YouTube page?
It should be. Let me I'll send it
Let's
to
see.
you.
Last one I see is Listen Vibe. Okay, while we do that, sure. What do you
I'll
have?
make it.
Hey everyone, I'm just getting back from out of town. I am just trying to get over having an emergency tooth extraction. But still, like she said, on my way home, I had the phone in one hand, phone banking, and my computer on my lap, texting. And I realized I can text and do the phone bank with the dialer at the same time, and it's phenomenal. So good 3 hours of that, I think I got through, and then she threw me a loop and gave me another long Escambia one. But I got through Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa, all their texting, and I was like, I'm done. This is great. And she was like, oh, no, you're not. Here you go. Here's a long one from Escambia. So I'm still working on that. Excited, tired, and just really, there's just so much going on. We have, the Capitol on the 25th. We're in the Capitol on the 27th. We have, of course, everything that's going on Friday, Saturday, Sunday for Gays campaign. Triple B happens in Crestview, so that is a huge event where Triple B is barbecue. And so you can go get all this kind of barbecue from all these people from across the United States that come in, but there's usually about 10,000 people that come. So we will, of course, we'll have a booth. We'll be pushing gay. We'll be pushing, getting involved, engaged in what they can do for the last 2 days, because that's what'll be left over. And then Sunday we are with David Triana's group, which they are doing an expo in Fort Walton with the Hispanic and Mexican community. So we're there. It's 2 days before voting. We're just going everywhere we can to make sure people know that gay is there. She's the answer. And then, of course, we have the election on the 1st. And then we turn right around and we have the state Democratic Black Caucus of Florida election on the 5th. And I just don't feel like there's a moment to breathe. You stay up till 2 o'clock, you get up at 5 o'clock, and you just keep doing it. And then, I don't know, you break a tooth like nobody else does and, have to have emergency surgery out of town, which is crazy. I think Derek was like, do you ever do anything normal? Can't you just sort of kind of break it tooth? No, I got to break it down into the roots. The roots are all crossed up. This tooth should be a regular tooth, and we are doing an impacted tooth on you. So for Okaloosa County, I'm just glad to see so many organizations and groups out there working. So the NAACP is working, Blacks in Government are working, the different faith bases are working, the volunteers are working, the DC, the DBC, the Environmental Caucus, just everybody is all in. And all this extra help that we're getting from Colorado, California, across the whole United States, Michigan, Minnesota is amazing. And it doesn't even feel normal. I think I was on the FDP and I was like, finally, people realize that we're here and they care. And they had to come all the way across the states for us to feel that way. But it's the first, we feel like celebrities, working super, super hard celebrities, but celebrities in that everybody wants to come here because normally other than spring break or the beach, they're not really just coming to hang out. And people are coming to hang out and they're not going to the beach in spring break because they know how important this is. Now, April 2nd might be a whole different ballgame. Everybody might be at the beach, but for right now, it's exciting to be a part of and to partner with such amazing teams and leadership in Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa County. And then, of course, the Air Force team and Lenka and Z. And like I said, I don't even know somebody from the FDP said, call Jill. And I'm going, I don't even do this, but I can make it happen. Vanessa, how do we do this? How do we do this? Do y'all want to do this? Give me this and we'll do it. And it's just been an amazing ride that I hope in the end, we push Gay into office. That's really the goal. I don't even think most of us will understand what just happened when it happens. But it will be a great feeling. And we're going to just ride that until after the 1st and then go from there. But I'm not sure we're all excited and we want it to happen, but I don't think we realize that the reality is really there and it's a possibility more so than it's ever been. We have never had any candidates that raised $7 million in 6 months. We haven't had candidates raise $7 million collectively in 6 years. So, I mean, I'm just being honest. So it's to be able to do that in our district. And I think they said their average person is giving $35. So they're not big donors. These are just 25, 32, I think you said. I don't know what all that is, 33, whatever it is. It's around 35, whatever the number is. But it's such a small number, and that's very doable for so many people. But $7 million that they're actually putting out there and into the community. They have another group of canvassers coming in. I know they have commercials. I think they have another drop of commercials that are coming out. People are seeing the commercials. Out of town, they'll call and say, oh, I saw Gay's commercial. She went down to Tampa, met my daughter's mother-in-law, and she called. She was like, I met your Gay. She was so super excited. They had a fundraiser down there. So I guess I'm hopeful and I'm grateful and I'm super tired, but pushing through. And I can't wait till April 2nd after the win. And hey, can we go have a party and just let go for a moment? Not too much, because we got to do the April 5th thing. So we need to have a party on April 6th. Not till April 6th. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, well, I will share. We've got Walk Away. Share. So I am going to share that so people can hear it. Okay.
I had a revelation today. You don't love me like you used to. Must be things that you say. No emotion, just excuses. So I think it's time you know that I gotta let you go.
Bye-bye.
But it hurts to say goodbye. I'm sure I'll get over this one. Gave it all I had, it didn't get better. We finally hit, we shouldn't be together. Nothing really lasts forever, no. Time to release you, time to be free. Find somebody right for me. Well, I can't take you anymore. Go ahead and leave. I deserve better. So it's time I go and be alone. Don't make it harder than it has to. Go ahead, take it easy. Go ahead, walk away. Had to let you know that it's time you go. I think it's better that way. Gave it all I have, but it ain't better. It finally hit, we shouldn't be together. Nothing really lasts forever, no. Time to release you, time to be free. Find somebody right for me. I can't take you anymore. So I think it's time you know that I gotta let you go. Though it hurts to say goodbye, I'm sure I'll get over this one. Go ahead, walk away. Go ahead, walk away. Go ahead, walk away. I'll get over this one. I'll get over this one.
All right. That is good stuff. All right. Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Shirley Baker and Lois Les Pruitt are also saying congratulations in the chat. So that is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Good stuff. For me, I guess we did about an hour of the stuff that I would talk about, and that is the election, of course. Early voting is open right now. We won't tell you to renew your vote by mail ballot for this special election because that time has passed. Although you still can request a ballot so you're prepared for 2026. But certainly for this election, it has passed. If you have not yet returned your ballot, please do so. If you're going to mail it, please do so by this Tuesday, which would be the 25th. Otherwise, please make sure you turn it in at one of the early voting locations. Or if you can do that, if you don't have the opportunity to do that, you can vote at the early voting location or on election day, which is Tuesday, April 1st. In Escambia, the polls are open for early voting from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. At any one of the 10 early voting locations in Escambia County. Polls are open in Okaloosa County from
10 to 6.
at any one of their 5 locations. At any one of their 5 early voting locations.
Can I also add something? In Okaloosa, please don't mail your ballots right now. Derek lives in Pensacola, so their mail goes through Pensacola, but our mail has to go to Pensacola and then come back here. Just take it in. Don't even wait until then. Because remember, all our mail goes to Pensacola first. And then, if they get backlogged, then our mail stays there. So not saying that anybody's going to stop you from mailing it, but I would say at this point, tomorrow's Monday, just go ahead and bring it to one of the early voting locations or to your supervisor of elections office to ensure that it gets there in time.
And I do want to also say, we have people on the ground who may be calling some of you who voted by mail. And if you get a phone call saying that your ballot did not have either the right signature or was missing a signature, it is not a scam. People aren't trying to rob you of your vote. We're trying to make sure that your vote counts. So if you get that call from anybody who's identified, either from the voter protection team, from the Florida Democratic Party, the Escambia Democratic Party, Santa Rosa Democratic Party, Okaloosa Democratic Party. Please know that they are just trying to help you get your ballot counted. They have a way for you to rectify it. They may come to your house and ask you to sign an affidavit and ask you for a copy of your driver's license. I know that can be a little bit invasive and you have to be very trusting, but we are just wanting to make sure that you get it done. You can always call the supervisor of elections to verify the authenticity of the individual who is coming to cure your ballot or remedy the situation for you. Or you can always just go to the supervisor of elections office yourself and handle it there. But please, whatever you do, if you get that phone call or an email or someone reaches out, it is legitimate. They are just trying to help you make sure that your vote counts. Fortunately, the numbers aren't very high right now, but there are a few people in each county that need some additional assistance. Also, if you were signed up for vote by mail and you haven't received a ballot yet, some ballots were returned to the supervisor of elections office as undeliverable. So my suggestion to you is to go ahead and early vote, and then also call the supervisor of elections and update your address. We have a few people in each county where that also falls. That is also the case. So if you get that call or an indication, or you just have not yet received your vote by mail ballot, you do in fact need to go to the supervisor of elections office, because they are not mailing out any new ballots. It is past beyond that time. So you do need to either early vote, make a plan to early vote, or vote on election day, which again is Tuesday, April the 1st. If you also need a ride to the polls, you can call any of us or call the Escambia County Democratic Party or the Santa Rosa County Democratic Party or Okaloosa or Jill. Either one of us will be able to get you to the correct individuals. We might even just come and pick you up ourselves. So please know that we're doing everything to make sure that your voice is heard and your vote counts. So we just ask that you join us in that. Okay, so as we've done that, I'm not sure what we have on the agenda. I do know, did you all see the article or the information where Trump has rolled back the anti-segregation policies in the federal workplace of people who receive federal monies? Does everybody hear about that at this point in time? I'll take that as no. Well, he has rolled back that process, anti-segregation. So they are now allowed to legally enforce segregation. So when you think about colored water fountains and white-only water fountains, that is now back on the table. What do you all feel about
it? Can that happen?
As in it? Well, let me rephrase. They rolled it back. Now, I hope nobody would be stupid enough to actually do it, but it is technically, it's back on the table.
But I feel like a lot of the conversations that I hear or I'm engaged with out in the community, I think people are getting so many messages of this being rolled back or this being cut. Nobody knows what to really believe that's actually happening and what is just him just saying stuff, if that makes sense. So when I do hear, even when I hear things, it's like, I don't know if this is a real thing or if it's just something that he's just saying that can't actually be done. Or if he's just blowing smoke or, trolling folks or whatever. Like, it's hard to keep up with everything because there's so much going on in this administration. So I guess there's no really question there. It's just, I think I'm confused and a lot of other people that I talk to are confused as to what's going on. So the result is a lot of people checking out of what's going on in the news.
So here's what, just so I have the language correct, and I'm not generalizing. So it's after a recent change by the Trump administration, the federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. The segregation clause is one of several identified in a public memo issued by the General Services Administration last month, affecting all civil federal agencies. The memo explains that it is making changes prompted by President Trump's executive order on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which repealed an executive order signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965 regarding federal contractors and non-discrimination. The memo also addresses Trump's executive order on gender identity. So I want to make sure we have that correct. The government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking. That's what it says.
Okay, so government contractors no longer have to have.
Jill, what's your thought?
Interesting.
At first, I always love Cheryl because she's like, is that really going to happen? Can they really do that? But I no longer ask anymore because he just does. At the point that the Arlington Cemetery strips content on Black and female veterans from their website, like it's everywhere. Like there's so much going on. I guess if I take off all my hats and I'm just like a human being, I can't imagine disliking the color of someone's skin so much that I have to erase it from everything. Because you don't even know half these people, most of these people. It literally is just that the pigment of your skin I cannot stand. So I'm going to make sure I wipe that out of history completely. Doesn't change history. I'm just going to act like it didn't happen. So I guess I'm not surprised. It'll be interesting to see how many federal contractors, if any, decide to go to segregated whatever, bathrooms, counters, whatever. It'll be interesting. And then I think that's when we have to call in Jerry and Vernon and say, okay, we're ready. This has gone a little bit too far for us. Bill, where are you? We need your help. Every day it's something. And I feel like it's a distraction for what's really going on behind the scenes. And we're so busy being distracted every single day that we're going to be surprised when we figure out what's really going on. Because it just has to be so much more. You just literally can't live your life with that much. I mean, you can, I guess, but I don't know. I've just never met people who you hate that much. You hate so much that you don't live your own life. You just hate. I don't know. I don't have that kind of hate in me. So I don't know. I think it's unfair. I think it's not, but and then that makes me really look at the news when they're like, so what are we doing? Do we just say it's okay to all this stuff he's doing? What are we doing? Are we doing enough? Because it's not like it's not getting the traction that it should get and the pushback. But when you're outnumbered everywhere, it looks as if we're doing nothing. And so he keeps doing so that we can keep looking like it. And we've got town halls that are going on. Ours go pretty well, but there's others across the United States that the voters are like ripping the Democrats to shreds because they want to know, why aren't you doing anything? Now, whether that's because they don't truly understand the process and the fact that we don't have controls, there's not a lot we can do, or that we're just not doing enough. But now we're fighting our own. And I think that's exactly what he wanted. You cause enough chaos that you then start fighting your own. and you break down the system, we do it ourselves without him even having to do it, because now we're fighting each other. I don't know.
Now, Jill, do you think it's not enough of us, and Derek too, do you think it's not enough of us like really complaining and pushing back against the Republicans who represent us that are not standing up to some of this stuff?
I think I read something the other day. I know I read something the other day where they were saying that our legislators across the United States are scared of Trump. So they're not pushing enough. And, did you take on this office? Because many of them were elected before he won. So you're really thinking Kamala is going to be here. Did you take it on for him to attack your family and everything that you exist? You know what I mean? I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in that position, but then at the same time, if you're a politician that should be, and you choose to run, then you have to know that that's a possibility. For anybody running now forward, then they need to know that, yes, definitely, that's a possibility. So I don't know if I hate to say they're not doing enough, but visually, people don't see it as enough. But we're also not on the House floor, or the Senate floor while they're, screaming, yelling, saying this isn't fair and doing their strategic moves. We only get glimpses of it.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I feel like we're forever, to your point, it's clearly a distraction. For what I don't know, if it's a distraction because the price of eggs or groceries are still continuing to skyrocket. So you need us to be focused on every little fire over here so we aren't paying attention to it, or I'm not sure, because I still don't know what I'm clear on the master plan aside from, us going to a white Christian nationalist nation, right? And what that looks like, and the erasure of all things non-white, non-male, non-Christian, and non-straight, And so with that, it seems to be a lot. And, I don't know, are the town halls enough? Because we're doing town halls, or Democrats are getting eviscerated. Republicans just aren't showing up to theirs. So how do you hold folks accountable at this point? Because we're stuck with these people for another 2 years.
So do you think that, I hate to say there's a way out, but do you think that we can get the right people in office ever to reconstruct what he's broken down? Like, how do you put all of that? I just can't even imagine running for president in 4 years and sitting down and be like, so this is what we're going to do for the first year. We're going to undo every single thing that this man did. Like, we're not going to have time to do, should we be able to get in the office? Should he not stay president for forever? I'm just saying, because you never know.
I know.
At this rate, he may, but you know what? Sometimes we need to listen, and we just don't. We did, but other people didn't. Because when that man said, you'll never have to vote again, we should have known what he was talking about.
Or at least taking pause, like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, what do you mean? Let him talk. If somebody would ask that question, he would have told us.
Yeah.
And maybe people would,
about it.
But I don't know if it's not enough to give you a book full of pages of exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you do? Because we could point you to every single page that he's on because it was in that book. And so many people were like, no, he said he doesn't know anything about it. Well, for somebody who don't know anything about it, he's sure going play by play.
What about, like, how they like every day there's something else that comes out in the news? Oh my gosh, he did this. Like, what if the response on the Democratic or the other side would be to just point to page,
I know, right?
100 and such and such? Because Derek did that the other day, and I was like, that needs to be the message. Like everything that comes out, it's like bam, page 600, such and such on in paragraph XYZ. This is
I
what they
think that's a great idea. What I would like even better, I wish we could say, and tomorrow it'll be page 747. Read about it before it happens. So we could just
Yep.
take that energy away from him. Like, we're not surprised anymore. We know you're going every 10 pages. I don't know. I hate to have to study what that foolish person is doing, but it's almost like if we could just, this is the Democrats telling you, go ahead, brush up on chapter 8, because that's where we are this week.
Yep.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
And then have that star going up, and now you know.
Yeah.
The more you know, right?
Right, the more you know.
Right. The more you know, right? It's crazy. Like, it's amazing to hear people still say, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know." Mm-hmm. But I think the revision that I make in my mind when they say I didn't know is I knew, but I didn't think it applied to me because I am feeling it, or because I am, like it didn't apply to me, so.
So I got a question. Do you think it's really that, or is it because we are still calling around CD1 and people don't know there's a special election? Yeah, there's signs everywhere. We've been talking about it forever. There's commercials everywhere. You're getting postcards because we know every Democrat got a postcard. Well, at least 100,000 of them, plus the other people that we're doing. So and you still don't know. So you're just like, oh, that's a post. I mean, I've talked to people who are like, yeah, I've seen the commercials, but I didn't know what that was about.
Yep.
So I'm just asking this because I think part of it, there are those that knew and were like, no, they said he wasn't going to use it. He said he didn't know. But I think there were people that really didn't know. Like it's so unfathomable until you're here living it. Like nobody would believe that somebody would erase the education department. Like what sense does that even make in life? Who do you have to
parents
hate?
aren't in an uproar about it?
Right. Who do you have to hate in your life? Did you say I'm getting rid of the education department? Did you have a bad teacher? Can we help you? Like,
Yeah, black people, you hate brown people. That's why you get rid of the education department. Because that's where, you think about it, education department funds where you get your Pell Grants, where you get your financial aid for higher education.
yeah, but it's so negatively impacting his white friends.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
I just
But
have to like.
I don't think that they think that it impacts them until they get ready to go. Like when they start filling out those FAFSA forms, and they're like, what you mean? What you mean? There's no. Oh, I'm sorry. They filled out their FAFSA form and they got their award letter, only to find out, sorry, all that money that you thought you were going to get, you're not going to get because we no longer have a Department of Education.
That's crazy.
So until it happens like that, just like, I'm a.
Don't talk about people's scars.
Huh?
Don't talk about people's scars.
No, I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is like, for example, in Miami, those folks are rounded up, those Cuban folks, left and right. They are getting detained, arrested, and shipped. Now, when you look at who from a Hispanics point of view, Cubans were heavy into I will vote for Donald Trump. I will vote. I keep singing the song because they have that. I don't know if y'all saw that they had a Hispanic festival and they're like, I will vote for Donald Trump. Like they kept singing in their Latinos for Trump thing. So Cubans were the number one in South Florida, like big, big, big. That's who they are. And he's like, I don't know why you think you didn't count. You count too. You got to go too. Go. And they're like, wait a minute. I voted for you.
Or maybe it's
Uh,
that he realized the power they had. He was like, yeah, y'all got to go. Thanks for getting me in,
you know,
but you ain't going to get me out. You got to go.
like the folks, all these people who voted for him as a group, who are being rounded up like cattle, and they're like, "You got to go too," and it's like, "Well, wait a minute, I voted for you. Thank you. However, you got to go too." All right, it's that. I think it's not going to be until, they see it. Like these people listening to the veterans in the town hall talking about already the diminished amount of services that they're getting, they're feeling the effects of at the VA clinic here in Pensacola as a result of these reductions in the VA staff and veterans benefit. And you're like, well, I didn't see this coming. Well, again, on page 832, that began the paragraph where they said this is what they were going to do. But everybody's like, oh, they won't do that to veterans, but the Constitution says, and it's like it's like these people bend themselves into pretzels. They become like advanced contortionists trying to give this man an out, or like, nah, it's not them. And then it's like, but wait, you holler, it's not, they're not going to do it as you're getting put in handcuffs with your Latinos for Trump shirt going onto the back of the ICE van.
Yep.
Like, you're still, for whatever reason, you're still not believing it. Now it's like, well, wait a minute,
They did a
Or
great job.
veterans.
Yeah, they did a great job making the different groups that they targeted feel that they were going to get everybody else but them. Like whether it's the Latinos, whether it's the veterans, because I saw a lot of veterans during the last election cycle, veterans for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, I don't know how people didn't see it coming, how they didn't think that it was going to be them also, but they were the first ones to get cut.
I think what they said was they believed, if you remember the way he said it, I don't know about veterans, I don't know what they believe, except for they're traditionally Republican and they vote party. But for others, they believed that he was only going to get rid of those people who were either here truly illegally or that were true murderers and crooks and whatever. They never dreamed that meant the everyday person.
The hard worker. Mm-hmm.
Just the everyday person that's out there. They're doing their job. They're not bothering anybody. They're, helping society. You got to go too.
They pay more taxes than he does.
Right.
Oh my
They
God.
pay more taxes than he does. And he says, no, you got to go too. And they don't understand it now because they believed, the one thing about him is that he lies so well, unless you know the truth. But his lies are so free flowing that he literally can lie the same line. He can say the same thing over and over and over again. That is somebody who is obviously narcissistic, but I'm just saying, but that you fundamentally believe your own lie. But he's one of those.
Do you think that the affiliation with the evangelicals and involving the religion into it had a lot to do with their
I don't even know what to say to the fact that Trump had his own Bible, so I'm done with it. I'm gonna let Jesus handle that. I don't even know what to do with that.
And I remember, I don't know what physician Pam Bondi it's one of these evangelical preachers out of like South Florida that was preaching about him being the next, like the second coming and all that. You don't remember that a few years ago?
666. I'm gonna fix their words. Just saying. But anyway, they do believe. Some people do believe that he is something like that. I don't. It would be interesting. Maybe there's just so much going on that I don't know how interesting it would be. But in a moment of my life, it would be interesting to have like different pastors from different churches just sit around and tell us, like, who do you think is this okay? Is this part of God's plan? Do you believe that he's the Messiah? What is it? I just want to hear from all of y'all so I know who to stay away from. But really, it would be interesting just to see what's their thought process. Because I have people that go to one of the largest churches in our area, Okaloosa County anyway. I think they have 7 or 8 large churches. They have thousands of people that go on Saturday or Sunday. They're a regular church. They just do Saturday for people who work. They have 4 or 5 different times, and they are literally spewing things. Some of them look like us that I'm like, where is that in the Bible? How can you really say, believe what you believe? God is in control. I can hear you saying that, but to say that this person is supposed to be like, I had a neighbor across the street said, Jesus is a savior and Trump is a president on the same thing though. Like, how do you even liken what? Okay. But I don't really have an answer. I don't know who's at fault. Everybody who didn't know, didn't want to listen, whatever your didn't is, you didn't do, but you voted for him. So whether it's that you really didn't know, oh wow, dropped all that, that you really didn't know, or that you knew and didn't care because you didn't think it was going to impact you, or that you agree because you're in the safe zone for the half a second. Because if you look at everything he's doing, there's really not. How is it that veterans, he didn't say Black veterans, he didn't say Hispanic veterans, he didn't say gay veterans, he said all veterans. That would be all of you. All. That why is it that you didn't read those pages or at least listen? And I remember, Derek, maybe you'll remember, we were in somebody's church and we were all speaking, we were on a panel, and somebody was like, they're not going to do that to veteran stuff. What? And it did sound crazy. It seemed crazy. Like, you're right, it does seem crazy, but this is what it says. I mean, that's all we could come back with. Like, this is what it says. That's not possible. They can't do that. We're veterans. I mean, but I remember a regular everyday veteran saying, there's no way that can happen because we're protected. And now you're in the United States of America. That's the states of America, and nothing's protected.
Yeah.
This is where we are. Yeah, I wanted to share with you, I don't know if you guys, people are in this is crazy. Well, I think we're still in FAFO standard time, and people are in the find out stage where their overt racism is being met, and they're reaping the karma gods are bringing them to task. In Louisiana, there was a man, I don't know if you read the story, but there was a man who was in the hospital and he needed a kidney transplant. And it just so happened that the surgeon was a Black doctor, and he was a Black surgeon. And the man was like, I want nothing to do with you helping me. I don't want anybody Black handling my case. I don't want anybody in the operating room. None of y'all. I want all white doctors. And the Black surgeon was like, are you sure? And he's like, yes, I don't want any of them. None, nothing. I want all white people. And so he was like, okay. The surgeon said, can I get this in writing? And he said, sure. So he wrote it out. I want no Black assistants. Nobody Black can assist with his care. So he left the room and told his white counterpart, who was the surgeon, and the white doctor was like, what do you mean? You're a phenomenal surgeon. He was like, you don't want anybody Black. So the white doctor came in. He's like, well, I'm not working on him either. And so, which was a great, stance and allyship. But in the fact, he went in and told the patient, said, look, I know you need a kidney transplant, but I'm not doing it. And so you're going to have to leave the hospital and get dressed. Oh, and by the way, you have now been bumped down on the donor list on the kidney transplant list because your donor was somebody Black. And you just said you didn't want no Black assistants. So you've now been moved down. You got to leave the hospital and you're not getting a kidney. He's like, wait, what? Hold on. And so he went and sued, and the judges dismissed the case because
Good.
you said you wanted no black assistants, and that meant you can't have nobody black kidney either.
Right.
That's what happened when you F around and you find
All
out.
right. So your overt racism may cost you your life. You know.
That'll learn you.
You know, and so that's where we are. So, you know, when we looked, I go back to the story with the restaurants and the federal contractors having, I hope that nobody would be crazy enough in this day and age to say, no, we're going back. You can't eat here. This is white only establishment or white only restaurant or white only, you know, because at this time, if you think that's going to work in your best interest, I would suggest y'all sit down with the folks, the shareholders of Target and the CEO of Target, and see how that's working out for them. And then you make a decision on what's best for you.
Don't you think that it's kind of like a punk way to address it, because it was pushed back off to the contractors? Not It wasn't made a federal thing. It was put back to the contractors to decide if that's how they want to proceed.
Yeah.
So still wasn't taking that stand.
Well, again, I hope I hope you're not fool enough to take this stand. So that's where we are. We are almost at our hour at this point. I would have asked Mr. McIntosh if he has any final book reviews or words for us, but I don't think that he does at this time. But again, what I will reiterate is we have a couple things this week. Please make sure you check out the town hall that is going to be at Raider Truvine this Thursday, which is going to be the 27th at 6:00 p.m. Please make sure you can do all you can to attend that. For those who are traveling to Tallahassee, which I think is just the two of us, we have traveling. We make sure that you have safe travels. Of those who are traveling with equal ground on the bus on Wednesday morning, please make sure you are at your departure station at the time. That would be 4:00 for Escambia County, 5:00 if you're in Fort Walton, and 6:00 if you're at Love's and Defuniak Springs. I thought it was exit 70, but it might be Defuniak.
But that is exit 70 is not Defuniak, so I don't know if they're going to exit 70 or they're going to Defuniak.
It says 285, whatever that is, but it says Defuniak. Hold on.
That might
So
be
you
where
tell
we,
me,
yeah, where'd we meet Keisha at that McDonald's? Do you remember that? That's
but
Defuniak.
it's the Love. So this is what
I
they
don't,
got.
there might have been a Love's there. I don't know.
Love's travel stop, 754 285, Defuniak
Yeah.
Springs.
Yeah, because we're not, you don't get off on 285, I don't think. I don't know. I'm sure
Is the
they know.
285 that you have, isn't that the road that goes by you?
I don't know. But it's not Defuniak. It's not even close. It's Mossy Head, if anything. Defuniak's another 30 minutes down the road, which would make more sense because they said they're not getting there for an hour. Like, it doesn't take you from Fort Walton to Niceville to go an hour. Like, but it would to Defuniak. So maybe they really are going to Defuniak to try to pick up some Walton people, maybe. Okay, but we'll see you when you get there either way.
We'll see you when you get there, yes. Everybody have a great night. We will see you next week, same time. Take care, everybody. Don't forget to go and vote. Please go and vote.
Early vote, early vote, early.
Yes.
Jill.
Good night, everybody.